And welcome to the Courage to Live podcast. My name is Josh Pitsko. I'm a retired police captain out of Las Vegas with 24 years of experience. Currently, I travel the country and I teach people about leadership, resilience, and courage. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about the process of writing a book. And why we're going to talk about that is because I actually wrote a book, and it's coming out on October 1st. It's called The Courage to Live, and I am very excited, and I am also a little bit scared. I'm joined with my co-host and wife, Jenna.
Hi.
And, she was also a big part of this too, there's no way that I would have been able to even dream about writing a book if I didn't have her support and, reminders and help, because I think that it is such a time commitment, and it also takes a lot of mental energy to put the whole of your experiences down on paper. And through that process, again, it's emotional, it's hard, it's a lot of work. It's almost like I had a second job. And I'll tell you that, but it's also very rewarding. And through that process, because it's made me better. It's made me better at putting down, my thoughts on paper, and even like blog posts for our business and social media posts and all of that stuff. It really has improved my ability to do those other things through the process of learning how to actually write a story that people want to hear or read. And I had actually tried several times to write a book before.
I think that happens to a lot of people. I think a lot of people sit down and try to write and then get stuck.
Well, yeah, as a cop, you go to parties and or social gatherings, and you end up, especially if it's not like a cop party, people want to hear the stories. They want to hear like what you've seen and what you've done. Oh, I bet you it's really exciting being a police officer in Las Vegas. I'm sure you've seen a lot of crazy things. What's the craziest call you've ever been on? And then, you tell them like, you should write a book. And so there was different times in my life I sat down to try and write a book, because we do, any cop, especially a cop that's like in a busy area, is going to have just such a wide variety of stories that they can share that people are going to enjoy. And because of that, I'd sit down and I'd open up a Google document, make all my tabs, make chapters, do everything that I thought I needed to do. And I could never get off the ground with it. And, or, even before, just like a Word doc, and just try to sit down and write. And I was never able to do it. So even like self-published authors, we know a lot of police officers that have done that. It's such a monumental achievement to do it. But I did go through a publisher, which was a completely different experience.
Yeah. And maybe we should start there and talk about how you found this publisher, what is unique about this publisher. And I can start that story. So
yeah, I think you're the one that turned me on to this publisher. So I think you're the best one to do it.
It's true. So it started on Instagram, which this is actually a positive story of how social media can really work for a good cause, because there's a lot of negatives to social media too. But I was on Instagram and I was watching a story of a woman I follow named Lily Eats and Tells. She does macro recipes, which are all we eat around here. She's great if that's something you're into. And she had reposted a story from her sister-in-law, Trisha Basinger, I think is how you say her last name, who does mindset coaching for athletes. And at the time, our daughter Kate was really struggling with her mindset. She plays club volleyball and she is phenomenal, but her mindset was getting in her way. And so I started following Trisha, and as I'm following her, I noticed that she is going through the process of writing a book, but she was going on something called an author adventure. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I watched her whole journey on this author adventure, and she had gone to California for 5 days with this publisher, and that's all they did for 5 days. She wrote her book in 5 days. And so I reached out to her about the mindset coaching, hopped on a Zoom call with her to see if she'd be a good fit for Kate. And at the end, I asked her if I could ask her some questions about the author adventure. And she was kind of surprised because I don't know if anybody had asked her about it before, but she explained the whole process. She said that this publisher was phenomenal, that they held your hand through the whole process, that it was a life-changing experience. So I start following the publisher. I start following the owner of the publishing company as well. And so I'm watching her take people on other author adventures. And that's kind of when I turned it over to you. But what I didn't tell you was the part where I did tell you there was a lot of meditation and stuff like that, but I did not tell you about like the drumming and like the red light because I knew you would not be into that. So I kind of like kept all of that to myself. And I was like, this is going to be a great surprise if he decides that he wants to go on an author adventure.
Yeah, and it was a surprise for me. And I think like everything, especially these big, you know, changes or big ideas, I think in our business relationship, in our life relationship, and our, our actual relationship, I think sometimes I can be resistant at first.
That is like so weird for you to say that because you are the least stubborn person that I know.
And that is sarcasm. For those that don't know Jenna personally, I can be stubborn. And I think there's some good things about that too, because I also don't know when to like give up.
Yeah, true.
But I was resistant at first, but you knowing me, we're persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually hey, this is a great idea. I'm glad I thought of it.
Yeah. It has to be your own idea, like most men.
Yeah.
Sure.
But as I did some research, I looked at these author adventures, and I kind of realized that if I'm going to actually write a book, this is probably the only way that I will get a completed manuscript done. So it went from an idea that you found online to this might be something that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got in contact with her name is Kira Brinton, and it's Joan of Arc Publishing, and started having like Zoom calls talking about the process. I actually had to pitch my book idea to them to see if they would accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a little nerve wracking because I'm like putting myself out there, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so leading up to it, now it's like, okay, we have an author adventure. You and another author are going to go to Costa Rica for a week, and you're going to be immersed in writing, among other things, which we'll talk about in a bit. But through then I'm starting to get excited, right? And I'm starting to kind of put ideas down, just like I'd have a thought while I was cooking or working out, and I'm like, oh, this would be good in the book. So I pull out my notes app and like put it down, and I showed up to the author adventure with like basically like when you're doing taxes and you show up just with a box of receipts and hand it to your tax person, and they look at you like you're the worst person in the world. That's kind of how I showed up to the author adventure, just like a bunch of ideas roaming around in my head. But I knew that with help with how this adventure went, and she is a book coach, that I would be able to kind of collect all of those thoughts that I already had the book inside me, and we just had to put it all together.
Okay. So one thing I want to point out real quick is before you left on the author adventure, Kira told you that there was going to be a lot of resistance, that there was going to be a lot of obstacles. There was going to be a lot of things that got in your way to prevent you from writing this book, because Kira's stance is that, they want to publish books that are life changing and that are going to change other people's lives. And so when you bring books like that into the world, there's always massive amounts of resistance. And even speaking to Trisha, her and her family had massive amounts of resistance before she left to go write her book. And so we signed the contract for the book, and it's a contract. a big deal. And so we're scared because we're paying a lot of money to be able to publish this and do this a certain way. And what happened 2 weeks later after we signed that contract?
Well, I lost my job.
Yeah.
My position was eliminated at a company that I was working for, which was scary because we still had our business, but then we had the security of this job to, pay bills and everything else. And so
it was devastating, to say the least.
In fact, I called Kira and I'm like, listen, I understand that I signed this contract, but I don't know how we're going to do this and also pay our bills.
She was fantastic about it. And I remember both of us being on that call with her, and I'm bawling because we had finally just hyped ourselves up. Okay, we're going to do this. It's going to stretch us financially. It's going to stretch us in all of these different ways. And then the worst possible scenario of losing your job happens. And so now it's, do we keep going with this book? Do we try to find another job? They won't understand that you're going to go on this week-long trip in May. Do we just continue to push forward with our business? It was a life-altering moment, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. And it was already scary to sit down and write a book. And now to do it and feel the pressures of, I also want this book to be successful so we get a return on our investment of the money that we're spending to do this and have it published and edited and everything that comes along with it. And also, didn't something else happen? Like we had an air conditioner go out right before or something like that?
Yeah. And then there was something going on with your flight. I'm trying to remember, was your flight almost canceled or delayed or something?
My connecting flight to get me to Costa Rica from it was delayed several hours and they were going to cancel it. Oh, yes. And so there was a lot of resistance.
I'm at home trying to find other flights, trying to help him so that he can get there. And there was just a lot of dark forces, I guess, would be how I would describe that were really not wanting this book to come to fruition.
Yeah, it was. And again, when we talk a lot about fear on this podcast and in the book, but it's scary. It's even scary to put yourself out there to write a book, and then this whole process, and then the financial side of it that came in, and that was such a huge emotion that I was feeling leading up to this process. Is this a good decision for our family? Is it a good decision for the business? I know that how I'm going to write this book and what I was intending to put down on paper was going to help a lot of people, and not just first responders, not just cops, but people that pick up the book and read it. And so, but we decided to keep moving forward, and I get on that plane.
It gives me a pit in my stomach now, because that was such a, I felt irresponsible.
Yes.
I felt irresponsible that we were now going to survive only on our business, which we had never done before. It was kind of a part-time thing. And we were putting all of our faith in moving forward with this book because it's just been such a strong driver for both of us. I feel like for a long, we have talked about this book for so long. Yeah. And so it was okay, got to take that leap of faith, and fingers crossed we don't lose our house.
Yeah. Still haven't.
Still here.
And so I get on the plane, land in Costa Rica, meet up with Kira, the other author, Caitlin, and then Juliet, who is she's now a partner at JOA Publishing, but she was the kind of the glue that held a lot of it together. And get in a car, and I'm getting, now this is I'll be candid, very socially awkward for me. I hadn't met any of these people in person, and now we're getting on a van and driving to an Airbnb in Costa Rica together. And she, Kira, if you know her, has so much energy, so much passion, and it's just we're doing this, and she's so excited. And I mean, I have passion about what I do, but it's not really outward. Like I'm
Mhm.
pretty like deadpan. And I'll tell you, it was, again, I think I remember texting you, I'm a little out of my comfort zone right now.
Mhm.
Um, so we go to this beautiful house in Costa Rica. There's trees outside, there's monkeys in the trees.
Mhm.
And, we sit down that night, eat dinner, and kind of talk about, what we're going to do. And basically, you're going to write all day, every day for this week. And we'll take brain breaks and maybe go ride four-wheelers or go to the beach or swim or whatever it is. But mainly, you're here to write. And on top of now the vulnerable nature and the fear of putting, these my innermost thoughts down in a book that is now going to be out there forever. It's not like I can, I have a podcast that's embarrassing. Well, I can get in and delete that. But this book is going to be out there. Then I have the pressure because having just, lost my job and like there's a lot riding on this book being successful.
Mhm.
But I will say the process of leaving all the pressures of home and the, having to take kids to sports and work on the business and everything that comes with just daily life and going and just focusing on a book really helped me.
Yeah.
And I was writing like 10,000 words a day
Yeah.
each day. And now this was another big obstacle for me is having my style of writing. So I went to school. I went to UNLV for English. Like I have my degree and early in my life, and I still love to read, but I was really into like creative writing. But then 24 years as a cop, and everything that I actually wrote was very business and very matter of fact.
It's very robotic. I'm giggling because like reading things that you wrote previous to this book, it's very short sentences, very to the point, very robot, no emotion. So that was part of why I really wanted you to do this author adventure, because I knew with the meditation, with the energy work, with the drums, all of those things, if you could fully immerse yourself in it, it was going to help you get into that flow state and bring back that creativity.
And it really did. Like we were doing breath work,
Mhm.
seminars, and energy, and hitting a drum on me somewhere.
That's what I'm
Like,
talking about. When I say drumming, I was so excited for that part for you.
yeah, I can't say I was excited, but it was an experience. And also, listen, I'll say it, I was in a house full of women.
Oh yeah.
And so you talk about bringing out emotion,
Hmm.
like you had told me you need to be all in it when you're there.
Yeah.
Like, do not do what you can do at times and like
Shut down.
shut down or push away all the woo woo.
Hmm.
Like, be in it. There's no one there to see you, no one there to make fun of you. Like, just be in it. And I took that to heart. And I sent you videos of me meditating or
Yeah.
being drummed.
Yeah.
And then I started sending you excerpts from the book.
Yeah.
And, we'll talk about in the next podcast specifically what the book's about. But I think like you you were surprised by some of the things that I had written because I think it's just how quick I was able to jump back into writing from a place that was not robotic, not police writing. Because I
And
remember sending you those excerpts.
well, and I knew you had it in you, but it also is the what you were sending me was very profound. It wasn't, you know, what you read from other cops that write books. This is I caught a bad guy and then I did this, and it wasn't that at all. It was these deep experiences and hard experiences that, yes, you took things away from them, but you have also turned it into something relatable for everybody, not just cops. And obviously I'm going further than I need to here, but just the level of profound that you were sending me was impressive, and I was just very proud of you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think honestly, that's why every time I sat down before in other parts of my life, I wasn't able to write a book is because I wasn't the person I am today. I hadn't not only had all of these experiences, but I I wasn't able to put context to those experiences. I wasn't able to apply my emotions to them. So rather than just, yeah, I had this cool call that people like, I still talk about that in the book, but then but this is how it impacted me. These are the lessons that I learned from it. So through my journey of therapy, through going to Costa Rica and really trying to get in touch with that flow state to be able to write, I think I was able to, yeah, I mean, be more profound about what I put down into paper and yes, share experiences, but then share how they impacted me and what lessons I could learn and then what lessons other people can learn outside of law enforcement from
Mhm.
those.
So, can you talk a little bit about maybe your day in, day out when you were in Costa Rica? Like, you woke up, what did you do? Just kind of that process.
Yeah, so, they had everything there that you would need or want to get in a comfortable state to write a book. That was one good thing about what she did and how they did it was it wasn't just you're going to go to an office and you're going to write all day. There was luxury, there was great food, but so I would wake up early and I would go work out, go for a walk, like try and mimic some of the things that I do at home to have a good day, like, be consistent. So I'd wake up, I'd go work out, go for a walk, come back, and, everybody basically woke up pretty early there because we're all there. Also, we remember we're there to write a book. So I'd find a corner of this house or outside and pull out my laptop and just start.
Well, you guys did meditations first, right?
Oh, yes, you're right. So we'd start the so after all that, after the workout, after the walk, we'd sit down and we'd do a group meditation and to get our minds right for creativity and flow and every challenge that we were going to have during the day. And then we would go right. And so we would sit there and we'd, work on our books. Kira would come check in, see how we were doing. She'd say, "Hey, do you want to go channel?" And so for her, that was, she knew what my book was about. She was in it and reading it as I was writing it. So then she would ask questions to then pull out more from me. We would record it. And then I would take that again for more inspiration to add more depth. Because again, coming from somebody that writes robotic and just the facts, like, I'd sit there and type, okay, this happened and then this happened and I felt sad or whatever.
Mm.
And, it was more than that, obviously. I think that's an exaggeration, but then she would pull out more details. And so then I would rewrite. And yeah, I was writing like 10,000 words a day. And, a 200-page book is 35,000 words. So you think about how much, and some of it was good. Some of it I got rid of. Some of it I didn't use. Right. And we would break for lunch and more writing. Sometimes we would then go to the beach, but we would write at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting on a chair with the ocean in front of me with my laptop working on the book. Or one time we went ziplining because she's also, you need to reset your brain and have fun, or you're just going to get into that just no longer flowing. Right. So one time we went ziplining, one time we went four-wheeling, but then you go back and write. You would have dinner. We would close the night with a meditation or a prayer. And then I would try and go to bed. And I'll tell you, I was surprisingly exhausted at the end of the night. There's a couple times I'd FaceTime you or call you and like, hey, and tell you about the day. But, you and I, like normal life, are texting pretty much all day.
Yeah, we're pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it's gross. And I mean, even now, like even when you're upstairs and I'm downstairs, hey, I'm at the gym and send you a selfie, but the gym's our garage and you're upstairs, right? But then I was just in it so much that we didn't even really talk a lot during the day. So at night I'd FaceTime or call you and tell you about everything that we did and talk about the book. And
well, and I think too, like the great part was for you and Caitlin. I mean, I don't know if necessarily what she was writing was traumatic, but for you it was. And so you're reliving this trauma and you're writing about these experiences that have deeply impacted you, and it was emotional. And the part that I really liked was when you were getting to be, in too heightened of a state, she would say, okay, let's not write, right? And
Hmm.
let's do red light therapy. Let's do the drumming. Let's meditate. And she was very good about, okay, you need to stop writing about this for a minute and like, let's reset your nervous system, which I think was super helpful for you as well, because you weren't just sitting in that trauma all day, every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something about when you not when I'm like, let's say I'm just writing a blog post or something. Every once in a while, I'll get a little emotional or something along those lines. But there's something about being in the story and you're doing all these things to put you more in touch with your emotions to be able to write in that way. And then you you're putting it down all on paper and you're bringing out even things that I hadn't even thought about how these things affected me until I was sitting there typing it out. And so there was times I'm like, yeah, super emotional, like while I'm writing. And then and as me, a skeptic, she's like, okay, I'm going to pull you out and I want you to go do this red light therapy. And I'm like, and what's that going to do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you want me to lay on this red light mat? and, and, but then I do it and I felt more calm and I felt more better and more better. And so then that kind of stuff, like as a skeptic, but then taking your advice, you need to be all in when you're doing all this. And it really helped me. And it really made the words that I put down on paper more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you were like, oh, I was shocked that, not shocked, but a lot of what you wrote was really profound. Well, I was shocked that even when I would reread certain things, I'm like, I can't believe that I wrote that in that moment. So yeah, it was a whole process. And by the end of it, I'm sitting there with my completed manuscript. Now there was still work that had to be done to make it then a book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had this completed manuscript that was done, which was I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And I think another part too that I want to talk about is there was one day where you guys did breath work. And so Josh, when I met him, was atheist. He had worked in abuse neglect, which is investigating child abuse, elderly abuse, child murders. I mean, it's probably the worst. I would say it's the worst job in policing. And
It's definitely up there.
I think it takes a part of your soul. And so because of that job, he, struggled with how can there be a God that allows this to happen to people and to children? And so, you know, when he and I met, I think I kind of softened his views a little bit on there being nothing out there. And I believe there is something out there. And so, I don't believe in coincidence, and I don't believe that all of these things that have happened in my life and Josh's life are just coincidence. And so I think I kind of softened you up on that a little bit. And so I would say you were more agnostic. And so then you went on this author adventure, and they were straight up before you left. We pray every day, multiple times a day. Are you okay with that? Because we're not going to change that. That's just what this is. And you said you were fine with that. And then you guys did breath work, and maybe talk about that for a second.
Well, yeah, we laid down. They had a guy like zoom in that his whole job is to do these breathwork sessions, and it was also like tied to spirituality. And for I think it was like 15-20 minutes, you're following these different breathwork patterns, and it was, I don't know if I'll say life changing, but it definitely opened my eyes. And it's hard to put words to it and explain it, but I think I called you after, and like I just had this experience where it's like I felt more connected to the world around me and the universe, and like I was like, I don't know now.
Yeah. I think your exact words were, I've never felt like there was something more, and now I do.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a unique experience that in my 43 years I had never experienced up until then. Like,
I was proud of you for trying and embracing it. And I do genuinely think that what came out in this book was because you allowed yourself to be open to meditation and, getting into the flow state and getting your mind right so that you could tap into that creative part of your brain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think through each stage of this process, I would, even literally last week when I got the completed like PDF file of the formatted book, it was like, I can't believe that I did this. And it's a mix of emotions of pride and still fear and vulnerability and just like still that shock of like, I can't believe that I wrote this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think through that process, had I been doing it an hour a night in our office, I don't know if the product would have come out like it did.
Well, so you get back from Costa Rica, and then, like you said, there were other pieces of the book that you needed to add or wanted to add to. And then once you felt like, okay, this is it, this is my book, then it went to an editor, and you guys went through 3 different rounds of edits, and then you submitted it for formatting, and now it's all done.
Yeah, yeah. And it was still a lot of work when I came back because there were parts I needed to add. The editor's like, hey, you need to put more context to this, maybe another story here. And so I would go and, I would work here sometimes upstairs with the door shut in our office, trying to write. And then you're like, hey, maybe you need to drive up to the mountains. We have Mount Charleston close to here and write some more. And so I did that, which kind of got me back in, it's not Costa Rica. Mount Charleston is not Costa Rica, but
It's a close second.
it's a close second. But I really was able to get back and connect and get it to a place where, yes, I now have this completed book, worked with an editor, which like who literally goes through every line, every paragraph, changes wording, making sure, the tenses align. Hey, this is kind of cop talk. You need to like back off from that a little bit. Or what do you mean by this? And that was a process of a couple weeks of a lot of time each day.
Which I think is why this book is going to be and is as phenomenal as it is, because you had professionals with you every step of the way. Juliet, who you referenced before, designed your book cover. And Josh was super resistant. Both Juliet and Kira wanted him to have his face on the book cover, and he was like, absolutely not. I am not doing that. And he called me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I was like, I love that idea. I think that's a great idea.
I thought you were going to be on my side.
Heck no. I was like, just let her do one mock-up of it and let's just see. And she did, and he loved it. But having somebody design your book cover, having somebody, help pull out all the creative parts of you, and just the fact that you had an editor who was able to go through and tell you, no, this doesn't make sense, or this chapter needs to be here, and slash filler and stuff that shouldn't be in there. It really just was such a professional experience. And I don't know that the book would be as good had you not done it this way.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted people to pick it up. And even when I said this, like when we started this process, even before we found Kira, I want them to feel like they have a real book.
Yeah.
And be professional, like you could pick up on the shelves at Barnes and Noble or Target or something like that. And so having all of these people helping me through that process, and somebody that's a specialist in the publishing process, what do the pages look like? What are the page numbers? What font do you use? Is it white paper or cream paper? Oh, you have pictures, so maybe white paper. Like all of these things that we would have never thought of in that process. And so, yeah, it was, I got through editing, and then I remember so I talk about, again, like the fear of this, having the book out there and having somebody read it. And it's, again, very vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And there was this, like, I felt it wasn't resistance to have you read it. It was, I want it to be like really good. And I knew you weren't going to be critical. I knew you would love it. And even with the excerpts that I'd sent you and your reactions to them, I knew you were going to love the book. But I also just like, yes, I care what other people think, but I care what you think
Yeah.
so much. And I knew that, like, okay, I want her to read it when it's to a point where I'm comfortable with. That being said, if you wait until everything's right, it's never going to be ready, right? And I think I told you, like, let me get through like the first round of edits.
Yeah.
Because I also didn't, when you're writing that much, every time I'd read it, I find little grammar mistakes or how I would word it. And I wanted you to have the experience of also reading something and not be pulled out by, oh, well, this sentence is in the wrong place or something, because you're writing so much.
Yeah.
So finally I'm like, okay, yes, you can read the book. Here you go, and send you the copy online.
Yes. And I read it in 2 days because I couldn't put it down. Like I just wanted to keep reading, and I know everybody listening is going to be like, "Oh, well, you're his wife and you have to say that." And if you know me, I actually don't.
She
I
actually
actually
doesn't.
don't have to say any of this, and I mean what I say. And that is a core value of mine, is being authentic, and it's really important to me. So what I read changed me, and I'm going to get emotional because I really think that it is going to change people's lives. And it's not just for law enforcement. Law enforcement can get something out of it, but so will men, but also so will women. Like, I think this book speaks to men particularly, but it also is just, there were so many things that I took out of it. So it really is just a universal book. If you are a human, you will get something out of this book. Aliens probably won't.
Probably not.
But if you are a human, there is something for you in this book, and it will inspire you, and it will motivate you, and it will help you view your life differently. And so I am really, really excited for October 1st, because you also get another chance to have a positive memory of that day, because every year it is a very rough day. It's a hard day for everyone involved, and you now get to build a positive memory around that day. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Yes, I think I sent it to you and I had to like walk away. Like, I don't want to be here. Not because, like I said, I knew you would love it. And did I think that you would have that experience? I mean, no, you've heard all my stories. But I think that it's, again, you're just putting yourself out there. And so I am excited for it to be released. I'm going to tell you, scared. It's because this book is a lot of me. It's more than just stories and more than just navigating fear and everything that I've learned, but there's just so much of me in it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's going to be released on October 1st. You'll be able to get it on Amazon.
Yes.
Next week's podcast, which will be on the release date of the book, I'll throw the link in the description so people can buy it. So yes, you can get the book through Amazon, and I hope you do. And so thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you liked anything that you heard, please just share it with a friend, or subscribe, download, leave a review. Everything helps. And thank you.